So with Solana finally hitting a new all-time high since 2021, there are two main questions that's going around most people's heads. Number one is where could be the top so that you can secure your money and get out? Number two, where could a possible bottom be after some kind of a retracement? Either you have Solana already and you just want to add, or if you don't have Solana yet, what are you doing? And you want to buy some, then these are two questions that we will answer in this video. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. First things first, we're going to draw a fib from the previous all-time low to the previous all-time high. So that puts us at a range of about $260. Now, the reason why we do this has one big reason. The standard deviations that you can see on the chart from the negative 0.5 to negative 1, and to those of you more familiar with Fibonacci retracements, it's negative 1.618 as well as the negative 2.618, which I haven't enabled yet on the chart. Now, the reason why we draw this is because, first of all, standard deviation expansions are what the algorithms are programmed on, which means that a lot of the calculated moves that happen in the market, and this goes from the lower time frame all the way to the higher time frame. For example, if we were to draw just a very random swing on the lower time frames, so let's say this one, for example, and we expand it outwards, and we'll see that a lot of tops and bottoms are going to come at standard deviation numbers. Why? Standard deviation numbers are essentially just taking this range right here and then expanding it one range outwards, right? That's how it works. This is what the algorithms are programmed on. Of course, you have your magic fib numbers. Like, even though the move has already been going on for so long, you can see that previous levels still hold a lot of strength. Now, the beautiful thing about these standard deviation numbers is that they're rooted in math. And if we know anything about algorithms, is that the best parameters to program them on is math. The other beautiful thing about using these standard deviation numbers is the fact that a lot of these Fibonacci as well as standard deviation numbers tend to add up with previous key levels. And this is no coincidence, because the market makers and the big players, they are delivering price in a way that, well, where everything adds up, right? You hit a previous swing high, as I've drew the line there, you start going into a consolidation before you eventually break out. And where do you break out to? You break out to the negative 1.618. Now, probably this is going to line up with some sort of key level as well. And right there, then you have your fair value gap. So we just expand it outwards, but you get the point. All of these expansions are calculated moves. Even if I were to draw another random swing from here to here, you can see that price is currently at a negative 2.618 expansion, which means that this could potentially be the top. Who knows? That's what this video is going to be for. But negative 2.618 lines up with the previous all-time high. Again, this is not a coincidence. And so by drawing a Fibonacci expansion on quite literally the all-time range, you now are able to get a good idea for where the macro top for Solana could possibly be. So the first level that you're going to want to pay attention to is right here at about $390. So this is going to be level number one. Level number two is at about $500. Level number three is 680. Number four, 780, and number five, pretty much close to $1,000. I highly doubt we hit that level or even come close to that level throughout the cycle. But hey, you never know. It's a crypto bull run. Things that should not even go up by 2x tend to go up by 200x. Like, it's hard to say. But at the very least, $500 Solana is a very reasonable target. It's a target that everyone has been having their eye on, and it's good to know that this adds up with the standard deviation numbers. So now that we have our standard deviation numbers, this is macro top, right? So not stuff that's going to be immediately relevant right away, but good to keep in mind for the future. Now, in order to identify the current top, there are two ways to do it, right? First is we're going to also draw a standard deviation expansion. And as you can see, just from this consolidation here, from here to here, we're currently at a negative 0.5 standard deviation expansion. So this already marks a potential top, lining up with the previous all-time high. Okay, cool. So now let's just try to see if there are any other more confluences. For example, if we say that the move began from here to here, currently we're also at very close to a negative 1 standard deviation expansion. So at the very least, all these standard deviation expansions lines up to the fact that there is probably some kind of retracement coming soon. Now, what are some of the further levels that we can potentially look at? And that's going to be at $300. So $300, what are some further levels that we can potentially look at in case Solana just, goes straight through the all-time high and continues going straight up? Where are some levels that you might potentially want to take profit at before some kind of retracement? And that level is going to be at around $310, as well as $370, which also lines up with a macro range negative 0.5 expansion. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are going to be your three levels. It's not a bad time to take some profit here, but Solana continues to run. That's going to be 311 and 370. These are going to be short-term levels that if price hits, it's not a bad idea to take some profit, because chances are that it's going to go through a dip is pretty likely. Speaking about dips, it's time to talk about some potential bottoms are going to form. Now, what's interesting about Solana this time around compared to every other cycle before it is the fact that you have formed quite clearly a value area, which is from here to here in the last 6 months. Now, what's important about this consolidatory area here is that this is solid, concrete, undeniable proof that people are interested in trading Solana at these prices. Basically between $120 and $200, there was a lot of trading volume here. As you can see from the volume profile, this is where, even amongst the entire chart here, there is still quite a bit of volume concentrated around this area. And this is looking back 1,000 candles. And this data is looking back at the last 1,000 days. If you disregard the bear market, which is where the best accumulation time would have been, this is on the chart, at least the second best accumulation period. Now, what's interesting is that in the previous bull run, we also got something similar. And fortunately, price didn't quite return back to that consolidatory area. For example, here you have another consolidatory area that price eventually just found support and just took off from there. But this would have been a beautiful one to retrace to. But taking what we know from history and just extrapolating it back to here, we can see also that, first of all, like this is your huge value area, basically. If price were to retrace back into this value area, this is going to be your best, most ideal zone. But if it doesn't, we have two other zones that we can look at, and that's going to be right here. Now, the reason why using volume works so well is because, now, first of all, if you don't know what is order flow, I have made a video about it. Feel free to check it out in the description box below. It essentially teaches you how to trade alongside the institutional money and the smart money, how to read a trend properly, how trends actually play out so that you know how to, well, just trade alongside a trend, which is, as many traders might know, the most profitable thing that you can do. But just taking a look at order flow concepts purely, like it states that when you are in bullish order flow, which essentially just means uptrend, you do not want to break below bullish PDRAs. For example, over here, you form a demand zone, price breaks above, comes back, it holds. Now, price here forms another demand zone, price breaks above, comes down, it holds. Now, once more, this is another demand zone, price breaks above, comes down, it holds. Now, looking at this one more time, boom, price breaks above, comes back, it holds. So currently, we're not going to take this one because it's way too close to current price. If price were to retrace, it's very unlikely that it's just going to be a 10% retracement. So we're going to take one level down and a second level down. So according to order flow concepts, as long as you are still going to be in an uptrend, which very much is the case, these two areas here are going to be areas where you want to be looking for retracements at. Now, of course, the lower it comes, basically if you reach like sub $200 worth of Solana, this is going to be an amazing area to buy because now you're getting back into the original consolidation. And the reason why this works, by the way, is because this lines up with just institutional concepts. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are a huge investment fund. I know, pretty nice scenario to imagine. Now, as this huge investment fund, you have, let's say, $500 billion worth to invest. And obviously, the market cap of Solana at the moment is like 250 billion or something. Now, here's the problem when you have $500 billion to invest. The market cap of Solana, as of the current time that I'm making this video, is 125 billion. Even if you drew in just 10% of your money, that's $10 billion, you are going to move the market very, very significantly. So first of all, market orders are out of the question. But two, because your position size for it to make any sort of meaningful sense to you is so large, you are going to need to scale in your orders, meaning you're going to set many, many limits worth, maybe 10 or $50 million around, a lot of areas, right? And this is why value areas come in handy. Eventually, once you have accumulated all of your positions, okay, boom, right? Market takes off. So now a lot of the limits have been removed, for example, sell limits as well as buy limits. And now all you need is some big market participants up the price and boom, you're off. Now, here's the problem. If price exits your accumulation zone way too quickly, there are a lot of your orders that have not yet been filled, right? Because they're still open. And you see this across, this is why demand zones work, by the way. Like taking a look at just demand zones where price leaves the area really, really quickly, you can see just how much these areas get respected the moment price returns into the area. Just take a look at here, for example. Price comes down 1, 2, 3 times, and it doesn't fall below this area by much. And every time it does, it's a very swift recovery. Why? Because there are a lot of open orders. This, historically in the past, has proven to be an area where price has found fair value. And because of that, there are a lot of institutional money, open orders. And you see this also in the lower timeframes. Of course, like a lot of the things that I teach about and talk about in the YouTube videos, as well as my Discord. All of this is fractal and you can apply it to every single time frame. This, by the way, is how you're going to be able to capture quote unquote bottoms. Now I'm going to use a Bitcoin example because this is what I called to my Discord prior to Donald Trump getting elected, and this just simply ended up becoming the absolute bottom before price absolutely took off. So over here, this is a demand zone. By the way, if you have been struggling throughout this bull run where you see everyone else making money and you're just having a really hard time and you want to figure this stuff out before the bull market ends, ideally, so that you don't miss this window of opportunity to make life-changing money, feel free to join my alpha group. This is where we compile all of the best alpha, as well as give you straight up trade ideas and trade setups complete with entry, stop loss, take profit, so that at the very least, you don't need to waste all of this time scrolling through Twitter, scrolling through YouTube, trying to figure out which is the best play. We're just going to give it to you. Of course, we're going to teach you how to actually read the markets and trade just like the institutional money, as I often talk about in the videos. Now, this is something that I showed on the Discord. I will put the screenshot up later, but this was a setup prior to Donald Trump winning that actually sent the markets to the moon. Now, if you're interested in joining that Discord, feel free to click the first link in the description box below. But otherwise, coming back to the supply demand theory, this area here is your daily demand zone. Price comes in, finds an absolute bottom here and takes off. Right? And this was prior to Donald Trump winning. So now the reason why this happens, again, you have some kind of value area here. Price took off way too quickly. When price returns back to this area, a lot of the open orders here get filled immediately, and boom, suddenly there's basically no more resistance holding price back. Boom, price shoots up, and now this becomes your new demand zone. So if Bitcoin were to return back to 70K area, there are going to be a lot of institutional orders around this area that are going to hold this really strong support. But even before then, you have this area right here where price has formed a little bit of a range, and this can act as a volume area as well. But going back to Solana, just not to get sidetracked, this is going to be area number 1 at around 220. And ideally, if we can refine this down to the 4-hourly chart, we will say that the main demand zone is going to come right at about here, right? If you want to really refine things down, it's going to be at 217. But otherwise, this is just a 4-hourly zone within a larger daily zone, right? So 220, oops, not 224. So around 220 to $200, this is going to be a really good buy zone. Obviously, if Solana starts dipping lower, then you're going to start looking at around $180 to $160. Now, if you want to refine this even more, then this is going to be the ideal zone at about 168. Now, these two zones, if price were to dip into this area, are likely going to become bottom zones. Now, when price does get into this area and you guys want me to make another update video just to let you guys know if this zone is still valid or not, I'm happy to do so. Just drop a comment down in this comment section below. But otherwise, if you want to see another coin being charted, feel free to also drop it in the comment section down below. And if you found value from this video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more market updates done from the institutional perspective like this. But otherwise, trade safe, have a good day,